Hi, everybody. So, as you can see, the title of this live stream is They Want to Struggle. So, when we anti-natalists present these arguments, I think we're looking at this from a completely different lens from most people, because we can objectively see that there's so much suffering in the world and that all life inevitably leads to death. And so it is easy to be dismissive, to say that they're just ignorant, they're selfish, that they're driven by instinct and biology. But I think there's something deeper going on. And I've said this before. I think they're actually addicted to struggling. It's not as if struggling is a problem to be avoided. Struggling is what they seek. They want to struggle. They enjoy struggling. Not only do they want to struggle themselves, they want their children to struggle. It really goes back to Nietzsche and the will to power. So I'm going to use two metaphors. The first metaphor is the tornado, and the second is the waterfall. The tornado represents suffering, chaos, entropy, violence, instability, deterioration, psychological and physical struggle. This represents existence. And then the second metaphor represents the waterfall, which is death, which is inevitable and is universal. Every human being who is brought into existence is moving towards death. So both are visible. The tornado is visible and the waterfall is visible, and yet they seem to embrace it while also resenting it. They're dependent on struggle. This is how they find their meaning, their identity, their morality. This is how they justify civilization. This is the basis for parenthood. The parenthood framing is built around struggling. That they're going to raise children to make them stronger so that they can survive this world of entropy and chaos and violence. They're going to bond. They're going to have tribal bonds over their struggles. They actually take joy in the fact that they work. They hate their jobs, but it's almost as if they're masochistic. By the way, they say that anti-natalists are complainers, that we're just always whining. I would say that they complain a lot more than we do. They're constantly complaining about everything, yet they will subject their children to this. They will complain about violence. They will complain about the lack of fairness. Now they're complaining about the economy, how they can't feed their children, how there's not enough jobs going around. Yet they still seem to love the struggle. They seem to love it. They love this. This is the difference between us. is that we see it objectively and we do see this clearly. They're very disjointed. It's like they love life, but they complain about everything that happens within life. They want to be the heroes. They want to be the rare exception who overcame. It's like, look at me. I became wealthy in spite of all of my obstacles. And so now I get to look down on everybody else. You can overcome. I did. Nana, nana, boo, boo. I won. You lost. You're a sore loser. They will brag about how they live longer than somebody else. Oh, I live, or not even necessarily them, but somebody in their family. My grandma lived to be 112. Your grandma only lived to be 60. Okay, but both of our grandmas ended up dead, so I don't know what you're bragging about. And it's really interesting how when somebody dies, how everybody just sits around feeling sorry for that person as if, I don't know, that person died today and I'm immortal. I'm still here. You do know that you're going to die too. So I don't know why you're feeling sorry for that person or why you think you're in a better position than them, because your death is just around the corner. This is something that they don't want to think about. This is the neuroses that comes with their life-affirming bias. It's like they're life-affirming and they're in resentment at the same time. Now they look at the waterfall. The waterfall looks beautiful. The waterfall looks attractive. So they want to jump in the damn waterfall. They want to jump in and think they can actually cheat the waterfall. They can cheat death. They can just be healthy. They can swim against the waterfall and then they won't fall in. Guess what? Everybody falls in. That is the predictable outcome. Everybody ends up dying. Everyone ends up falling off the side of the damn waterfall. But no, they don't care about that. They see the beauty. That water looks so, it looks like it's so full of life. It looks so fun to jump in the damn waterfall. Not only for them to jump in the waterfall, but to throw their children in the waterfall too. So they and their unfortunate children are both going to fall off the damn waterfall, and they take pleasure in it because they're going to struggle. They're just going to keep swimming upstream even though the current is pulling them downstream, and they think that this is completely rational. And they're going to get pulled. They're going to get pulled by the damn waterfall. We all know this. There are no exceptions. For some reason, the terror of falling off the waterfall seems to give them some kind of adrenaline. It gives them a rush. The serotonin and dopamine, right? The struggle to survive, even though you know you're going to die at some point anyway, they get off on it. The existential terror. So they're going to struggle to create a legacy. They know that they're going to die anyway, but they get to be a part of something that outlives them. They're going to create a legacy because they're delusional about their own death. They're in resentment. So they're going to create a child who's going to outlive them. They're going to pretend that they created a legacy, even though we know most people don't have a legacy, but they delude themselves to pretend that they do. Unless you have some type of dynasty, some type of generational wealth, you don't have a damn legacy. So you need to stop. But I guess you can say you have a genetic lineage. And you're so worldly, you're so attached to this world that it doesn't matter that you're sacrificing your child. All that matters is that I guess you get to swim against the current until you eventually get pulled down and your children get pulled down. And maybe if you produce enough children, I don't know, you think you're going to win against the the waterfall, you think that you're going to actually cheat death. You're not. You're all going to get pulled under. You're all going to eventually drown. But you're addicted to this damn struggle. Now, they claim that they like life, but they seem to resent everything that exists within life. They seem to hate human nature. They want to change everything about human nature. This is why they need the state. This is why they need civilization. They need social rewards. They need money. They need status. They need a state to force you to go against your nature. They need ethics. They're going to create natural omnivores and then tell them that they should be herbivores. They resent everything about human nature, but they still perpetuate it. They hate humans' natural violent proclivities. They want to change the natural man into a domesticated animal, a passive slave to the state. There's so much cognitive dissonance going on and so much projection, because they say everything that they say about the anti-natalist is actually their position. They are the ones who are in resentment. They don't accept life for what it is. They live in their fairy tale world where they basically go against nature, and they think that their artificially constructed reality is reality. They think that their air-conditioned apartments is reality. No, it's not. Reality is when you step outside of your air-conditioned apartment. Reality is that when you step out your air-conditioned apartment, it's 110 degrees outside and you don't like it. That is reality. You can create all the technology you want. You still cannot beat the damn waterfall. You still cannot destroy the damn tornado. So you're going to jump in the middle of the tornado and think what you're going to reverse the tornado, and the tornado is going to go in the direction that you decide it's going to go. I'm sorry, I don't think there's technology for that yet. I really don't think so. I don't think there's a state that can control a tornado. You're not going to change human nature. You're not going to change the weather. Well, I don't know. So some people say that they do have technology for that. I don't know. But what they think is that if you can withstand the tornado, if you can actually survive all the violence and all the chaos, somehow you are resilient. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Excuse me, y'all. You have gained wisdom. They can't tell you the point for this, though. They can't tell you why you have to go through the damn tornado. All they can say is that it makes you stronger. It makes you stronger so that you can withstand the next tornado. Never mind the fact that you're going to end up getting swallowed by the damn waterfall anyway. So again, they want to create human beings and then tell them to go against their nature. They want you to go against your own sexual appetites. They want you to restrain yourself. They want you to be monogamous. They want you to be heteronormative. They want you to eat a restricted diet. They want you to suppress your emotions, your violent instinct. So this is a war against themselves. They're in resentment. They don't like anything about life. They don't like anything about their nature, but they think that they can just change their nature to be something that they're not. Now, I've talked to you all about Rousseau and how the family is the first society, the original society, where you're socialized, you're disciplined. They instruct you to go against your nature. This is the reason why they discipline you, because the child is not free to be himself or herself. The parents are going to tell you who you are. The parents are going to give you their last name, tell you how to function within the family social order, when to eat, what your religion is going to be, what your beliefs are going to be, what you're allowed to watch. They're basically going to dictate everything about your life. But the parents are getting something off this. They need somebody to control. They need someone to guide, to instill their values, to force you to be Christian, to force you to be vegan, to force you to be whatever, to be a Democrat, to be a Republican, whatever they think is going to contribute to society, to make you a better person. And this is what makes them the hero. They get to be heroic by sacrificing you and using you as an instrument, as a means to their ends. And then, of course, you get inducted into their tribe. You're born into whatever your ethnic or racial group happens to be. You're born into different ethical commitments that you did not choose. It's almost like a hazing ritual where you get ushered in against your will. You're born into civilizations. You're born into the state where you are a subject. You're forced to obey unjust laws, whether you want to or not. And so to reject reproduction is to threaten their continuity, their identity, their collective meaning. They depend on the struggle. Now, meanwhile, you see these anti-natalists who are on the sidelines watching them swim against the damn waterfall, and you know what's going to happen. You know they're going to sink. They're going to get swallowed by the damn waterfall, and their children are going to get swallowed too. We see what's going to happen, but you know what? They chose their fate. Unfortunately, they chose their children's fate too. So all we can do is sit back and watch. Eventually, we're going to get swallowed into the waterfall also, but at least we don't have any children to die with us. They don't care. They don't care. It's out of sight, out of mind. As long as they outlive their children and they don't have to see it, then so what? All they're going to do is struggle. All they're going to do is say, I did my best. I tried to protect my children. I know they're going to die at some point, but so what? I struggled to keep them alive. So I get credit for that. So when you see the person swimming against the waterfall or they're sucked up in a damn tornado, the question that you should be asking is, how did they get there? How did they end up in a damn tornado? How did they end up in the river that is going downstream? Someone had to put them there. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter whether you're 10, 20, 30, 60, 90. It doesn't matter how old you are. You were put here by two individuals who decided to force you into existence. Because they always say, oh, you're grown. Get over it. Did I choose to be grown? Did any of us choose to be grown? No, being an adult is a natural consequence of having life imposed on us. If we don't die early in life, then we eventually become adults. Still doesn't make it our fault. We didn't choose this shit. So the erasure is that they want to pretend that they don't know how you got here. They want to pretend that they don't know how the homeless man on the street who's begging for food got here. How did that person get here? How did the crack addict get here? Because remember, as I told y'all before, they said they were creating doctors and the next president of the United States. Yet these people are out on the streets begging for food. How did they get there? And of course, their cop-out is that's life. That's their answer to everything. That's life. Get over it. As if life is inevitable and that life isn't a choice. Of course you chose this shit. You chose it. You forced it on them without their consent. You want to obfuscate with the non-identity problem and say that someone who doesn't exist can't consent? No. Maybe they can't consent, but you do exist and you have the ability to make a decision on their behalf. So it does not absolve you of your moral culpability because you did exist. So whether the non-identity problem addresses a person who doesn't exist does not do anything to address your own culpability, that you are the root cause of your children's suffering and death. And I know people are going to be upset with me for stating the obvious. You had a hand in this shit. You had the most consequential hand in this. You can blame it on the state. You can blame it on society. You can blame it on the gays. You can blame it on everybody. But at the end of the day, you got to look in the mirror and look at yourself. You did this shit. You did it. You extracted. It benefited you. It benefited nobody. Well, I guess it ultimately benefits society. But the original imposition was for your benefit. You got social standing. You got validation. You got a slave that you could control. So you claim to like life, but you complain about everything in it. You are in a state of resentment. You don't accept this. In fact, now that you have children, you feel more entitled. Now you think that the world should revolve around you and your children. Oh, we don't have any food, so now everybody else should sacrifice to feed us. Oh, we need more laws to protect us and our children. Oh, we don't need those degenerates over there parading their sexuality around our children. Our children are so vulnerable. They need to be protected. Now you think the world should revolve around you. As if you didn't choose to have children. No, why should I have to sacrifice my life, my happiness? Whatever I want to do, I'm going to continue doing it, regardless of the fact that you chose to procreate. That's not my problem. I don't have any children. That was a choice that you made. It has no bearing on my life or how I live my life. If you choose to bring your children around me, then so be it. If I want to cuss, I mean, I'm just saying this arguendo. Am I actually going to cuss around children? Probably not. Probably not, just because I have a modicum of respect. But if somebody were to do that, then they would be completely within their rights. They should not have to adjust their behavior because you have children, unless it is a designated place for children, like a daycare center or what, I don't know. But just because you decide to bring your children around, no, those are your children. They're not mine. I don't know what you think. The world does not owe you. So if you're going to procreate and if you are so pro-life, then you need to accept everything that comes with it. You need to accept the death, the entropy, the violence, the predation, all of it. You don't get to cherry pick and say, oh, I like certain aspects of life. You didn't impose certain aspects of life. You impose you impose life and everything that comes with it. So don't whine when the outcome isn't favorable, when you couldn't puppet your children to be exactly the way that you want it. You're not going to defeat the waterfall. You're not going to defeat the tornado. We all get in this life one way, and we all exit the same way. We come into this through procreation, and we get out through death. Some deaths are worse than others. But at the end of the day, this is a predetermined outcome. No matter how much you fight it, no matter how healthy you eat, no matter how safe you are because you stay inside your house and you use sunscreen, I don't know what the hell you do, you're not going to cheat death. Nobody can. Now they want to make these excuses about technology that we can become transhuman. Good luck with that. The bottom line is that you're addicted to struggling. You are in resentment. You can't accept what is directly in front of you. You want to live in a fairy tale world and say that life is something that it's not. You want to pretend that human nature is something that it's not. You're actually more resentful about life than we are. Because you hear all these people complaining, and most of these people are not anti-nihilists because we already accept that life is just suffering. It's just bullshit. It's pointless. We may state the obvious, but we're not the ones lamenting it. We're not the ones feeling entitled. We're not going on TikTok crying because we don't have food for our children. That's what these breeders are doing. So the struggle is not accidental. It's not incidental. The struggle is the point. And I've been trying to figure out what is the purpose of life. And I did read one book on pessimism. I can't remember who wrote it. But the book said the purpose of life is death. I don't know. I think the purpose of life is to struggle against death. They get some kind of meaning out of that, some kind of sadistic pleasure out of struggling and making their children struggle. Because they get hope out of this struggle, they get love. It's really perverse love. It's very twisted and dark, but I guess you can call it love. They get to see progress. Oh, look how far we've come. We have cars, we have running water, electricity, we have these new cell phones. Yeah, but you still didn't find a way around death. You're still going to die at some point. There's still violence everywhere. We still have wars. People are still getting shot. You still didn't really find a solution for that, though. But just recognize, for those of you who are anti-nihilists, that this is the point. They enjoy it. The suffering, the fear, the attachment to this life, the attachment to the state, all of this, all these institutions, this is where they get their meaning. And they're never going to tell you this because they don't have enough self-awareness. It's like if you ask them, I don't know if they're being dishonest or they just don't know. They don't know. They are addicted to struggling. And they're so busy struggling to even be aware of the fact that this is what they're addicted to. They are addicted to their ethics, to their Christianity. They want to be Christian and then condemn everybody else for not being saved, for condemning everybody to hell, for not being as ethical as they are. They love this shit. These are worldly people. These are people who are addicted to life, even though life comes with a death sentence. So really, they're addicted to death. This is a death cult. Behind the veneer of their pro-life gobbledygook, it's a death cult. They want people to suffer and die. Maybe they're not aware of it. Maybe it's not intentional. But the death and the suffering is not enough to avert their will to life. It's not enough. Even if you were to explain it to them and point it out, you're not going to change their minds. All they're interested in is basically jumping in the river, swimming against the tide, and talking about how they overcame. They want to suffer and then overcome the suffering. And that's what they want their children to do also. Even though there's no point for any of it, they can't tell you that. But the suffering and the struggling is the damn point. All right, now let's go through some of these comments. If I can get this thing to scroll up. Yes, they want to struggle and they want us to be comfortable with struggle. Yes. Struggle builds character. See, if you can trust anybody to be honest, it's going to be witchy bitchy. Because she's telling it like it is. She's telling it like it TI is. Struggling builds character. But what is the purpose of this character? You're going to die anyway. So you become strong and then you end up getting sucked in by the damn waterfall. What's the point? Just so that they can virtue signal and say that they're strong, that they're better than somebody else, that you were weak and they were strong. They're still going to end up getting swallowed by the waterfall anyway. Can you tell me the purpose of building character? What character does nothing but allow you to survive, but you're going to die anyway. Humans are definitely addicted to struggle. Problems are not meant to be avoided. They're meant to be faced and overcome. What's the point of overcoming it, though? That's the point. Can you tell me that, Witchy? What is the purpose of... Because it's not as if I can't do that. I just don't see the point. I don't... If you had a... I mean, I think procreation is unethical on its face. But if you had some kind of generational wealth where you actually were... You had this agenda that you couldn't complete in your lifetime, and maybe you had some children that maybe this project required 300 years. If you were like the Rothschilds or something where you just have this agenda to enslave the human species, I mean, it still would be unethical as hell, but it would be, I don't know, maybe in some kind of way you could feel better about it because it's like, okay, I can't do it during my lifetime. I need children to finish this mission. But if you're just working class, I don't see the purpose. I really don't. I hope my kids have learned the tools to make the struggle bearable, and that's the best I can. Exactly. I told y'all that's how they think. And Witchy is probably the most honest breeder that I have ever encountered because most of them will lie and obfuscate. I really appreciate Witchy because she does tell the truth. This is Exhibit A right here. I can call that Final Destination syndrome. Natalists have cognitive dissonance, Stockholm syndrome. I do not fear death. I love my life, and that's why I'm glad I gave my kids the same chance. Well, I don't fear death either. I would actually fear life more than I fear death. That's to be honest. I don't fear death. I fear life. But most people do fear life, by the way, Witchy. Most people don't want to die. I fully accept life on life's terms, including its limitations. I still think it's worth it. That's fine. But you already told me that I think you said your 14-year-old daughter actually agrees with me that your 14-year-old daughter was questioning why you brought her into existence. So, yeah, and actually, I guess I do need to follow up with you because I don't know if your daughter actually read my book yet. So, whenever she does, just let me know. Maybe we can get some feedback on that. It's the experience. That's why we're here, to learn, not willing to learn. Then it must seem pointless. Right, Witchy. The experience of struggling. Some of us don't enjoy struggling. Some of us need a point. This is why this live stream is so instructive, because I think a lot of antinatalists have been trying to wrap their heads around this, trying to figure out how do these breeders actually see, how do they justify the suffering and the death. And so I'm here just to state the obvious. I know that everything I'm saying is true. It's so axiomatic, but a lot of antinatalists are they're having a hard time seeing it from your side. So I'm trying to explain it. For most of us, the experience is not worth it. From our perspective, we don't think the experience is worth it. If you can tell us a point for the experience, that'd be one thing, but you can't. Why do we need to overcome it when we're going to die anyway? What is the point? What if your child was murdered in a school shooting? Witchy bitchy. I don't want to answer for her. I'm just going to tell you how most breeders think. If their child gets shot at school, to them, it's not their fault. They gave their child an opportunity. They did the best they could. What they're really going to do is act like they're the victim. The child is not the victim. They're the victim. Oh, well, it's me. I lost my child. Never mind the fact that the child got shot and the child himself or herself actually suffered. No, the parent is the victim, not the child. And all these videos, what I've seen where parents where the child's death predates the parent's death, the parents never seem to have any empathy for the child. It's always, oh, I lost my child. Oh, woe is me. Not, oh, I'm sorry for putting my child in that situation. No, it's just me, me, me. I know that's a song. Me, me, me. That's like one note. It's so redundant. Don't sacrifice your happiness. Yeah, well, the children are sacrificed to make their parents happy. The parents' happiness comes at their children's expense. And so the only way to be happy is to perpetuate the cycle. You get to be happy if you enslave a next generation to this hellscape and force them to struggle also. Sacrifice is a choice. No, it's not. I didn't choose to be sacrificed. It's a choice, but I didn't make it. My parents made that for me. I didn't choose to be sacrificed. I was forced to sacrifice. I was forced to make my parents happy against my will. Asking others to accommodate my kids would be useless. I center my kids, not the people around them. Okay, great. That's not how most people see it. Most people will weaponize the state so that the state can deploy violence to protect their children. They're going to say, oh, I don't like alternative lifestyles because they may have an undue influence on my children. So therefore, I'm going to regulate other people's conduct because I have these children who are so vulnerable. I love people who present me with opportunity to teach my kids how we don't want to be. Okay? I'll accept that description, not my worst addiction by far. The difference is, I think that your other addictions mostly affect you. But this addiction to struggle does not only affect you, it also affects your 5 children. I love my life, that's enough for me. The love of others is equal at best. People say that, but I don't think that is true. I mean, because Witchy, I have not met you in person. I haven't seen you like in your daily life. But what I have found that most people who claim that they love life, they spend so much time complaining about everything within life. They complain about the economy, they complain about traffic, about gas prices, food prices. They complain about everything. So while they claim that they love life, it's just not really demonstrated through their actual lived experience. Everything that they emote shows that they don't love life. Hey, Patsy. Right, how I overcame. That's their song. They get to talk about how they walked to school for 10 miles in 5 inches of snow and how they had it so much harder than their children. That's something that my dad used to always do to me. Anytime I brought up anything, oh, I had it so much worse than you. I overcame, get over it. Struggling for what? It's just chasing black balloons. Right, it's just a damn wild goose hunt. You're just chasing your tail. It's the most anti-intellectual thing ever. If you could articulate a purpose for it, then maybe I could see a different perspective, but nobody has been able to do this. Again, the struggle is the point. I guess that means chronic pain builds character too, right? I guess little babies that are born with that have brain tumors, and I don't know. I mean, you can justify anything. It builds character. It builds character to be sexually assaulted, to be violated, to suffer all kinds of horrific trauma. Oh yeah, it builds character. You know what? I have not found that to be true. I don't think that my suffering has built character. I think it actually destroyed my character. I think I was a better person before I really saw real struggling, real suffering. Before I actually experienced real hardship, I think I was a much better person. So it has not built character for me. I don't think that it does. I think the more people struggle, the worse they become. Now, I used to be very empathic. I don't think that I am as much. Now I'm just like, okay, it's every man for himself. I've learned the hard way to not be an open book, to not be so giving, not to give somebody my last $20 because Jesus is going to reward me. I don't think it has built character. I think it's destroyed my character. Even a struggle builds character that shall go into nothing anyways. That character building you got, vitality, physical strength, resilience, endurance, all into vain in the end for nothing. Exactly. Exactly. Let's skip to the chase. Let's fast forward and get to the end. You're going to end up at the end of the waterfall just like everybody else, no matter how much character you develop. Hi, Seth. There are 7 fundamental tenets. The struggle for justice is an ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over laws and institutions. Yes, you're correct that while we're here, maybe we should try to fight for justice. But have we ever gotten there? Have we ever created a just world? The just world fallacy is not a justification for continuation. We have existed for at least 1 million years. We still have not created a just society. We're still struggling to get there. Struggling can kiss my ass. You and me both. Capitalist indoctrination. Yes, the point of life is to develop eternal principles in alignment with truth. Yeah, the truth is that we're all going to fall down the damn waterfall. The truth is we're all going to get sucked in by the damn tornado. Exactly. Somebody has some damn sense. We shouldn't have to struggle. We shouldn't have to struggle in the first place. When we didn't ask to be here, things should be less smooth. Excuse me, things should be as smooth as possible. Exactly. We shouldn't have to struggle for shit. How dare you impose suffering and struggle on your children? I don't think any amount of struggle is justified, but at the very least, can you at least have some generational wealth so that your children don't have to struggle? Yes, hit the like button. Thank you. Thank you, Divine. If anything, struggling builds animosity, especially when you continually struggle. Right. And what makes it so rich is that they don't want to hear about you struggling. They talk about how you're complaining, how you're whining, get over it. Again, they're in resentment. They don't want to hear about your struggle. They want you to struggle, but they want you to struggle in silence. Can you just be happy about it? Can you stop complaining? Why? You're the one who wanted me to struggle. Why shouldn't I complain about it? I was born with character and haven't lost it and never will. I don't know. I don't know. I think if you go through certain hardships, if you have been traumatized sufficiently, it will absolutely destroy your character. I have chronic, never-ending back problems, and I'm having animosity about it. Yeah, I think I would have animosity about that too. And remember, no matter how old you are, you got here through procreation. So I'm not going to say your age, but regardless of how old you are, you got here. It doesn't matter whether you're 80, 90, 100, you got here the same way. So it never stops being your parents' fault. It can always be traced back to that root cause. LA, I was wondering if I saw a video time of talks of a woman, Black mama, saying she does not plan to leave her children. And I didn't see that. If you have that video, you can post it in the comment section and maybe I'll do a review. But I mean, it's the same thing. My book, I've already addressed that. I think that parents have a duty to leave inheritance. They don't have a right to disinherit their children. Children have a natural right to inherit their parents' property because it is a lifelong debt. It's a moral debt for life enslavement. You created a permanent debt that can't not be dissolved. That child has to exist even if you disinherit them. So it doesn't matter if they became estranged. I've already addressed that also. All estrangements is the parent's fault. Both nature and nurture is the parent's fault. The creator is always responsible for the creation. So no, I don't think that parents should have a right to disinherit their children. Same thing goes for God. He created the world the way it is and humankind with the propensity to sin. So the wrath is on him. Right. I just addressed that from the Gnostic perspective. Yeah, we believe something completely different. That God, like the whole meaning of God means something completely different. Our creators are not necessarily God. Our creators are our parents. All right, y'all. That is my rant for today. I don't see Pastor D, but I'm sure he'll catch the replay. So, for the anti-natives, you're trying to figure out like what's wrong with them and how can they do that. This is the reason, because they want to struggle. So it's really not that complicated. They enjoy struggling. So there's your answer. You all have a good day.